If you've been thinking about getting serious with your money, like actually serious, now's the time. The Motley Fool is offering new members 50% off their iconic stock recommendation service, Stock Advisor. This is the same service that's crushed the market with recommendations that have returned 1,057% since inception, compared to the S&P 500's 180% over that same period. This isn't guesswork. The Motley Fool has a track record of finding companies before they become household names. So if you want to invest smarter and you like saving money while doing it, go to fool.com/listen to claim your 50% off discount off a 1-year term of Stock Advisor. Again, that's fool.com/listen. Returns of 1,057% are from the Motley Fool's product Stock Advisor and measured against S&P 500 returns of 180% as of July 10th, 2025. Past performance is not an indicator of future results. All investing involves a risk of loss. Individual investment results may vary.
Hello, this is Chris Haskell from They Live by Film. For those that don't know us, Adam, Zach, and we built a podcast over the last 2 years that's a combination of film discussion from 3 very different perspectives, as well as industry interviews with the leaders in boutique Blu-ray and 4K community. We started with Dev Crocodile, but over time we've been lucky enough to speak with Arrow Video, Severin, Mondo Macabro, Vinegar Syndrome, Radiance, Indicator, most of the OCN partner labels. It's been a blast. You can find us wherever you podcast, and also actually recently as part of Someone's Favorite Production Podcast Network. We hope to see you online.
Are you a film fan who loves the ultimate home video experience? Look no further than The Disconnected. Your host, Ryan Verrill, is your go-to source for the latest and most accurate information on home video releases, exclusive interviews with industry insiders and filmmakers, and has established a thriving community where every film and physical media enthusiast feels welcome. From hidden gems to blockbuster hits, The Disconnected brings you insider knowledge and a welcoming space to share your love of cinema. Watch every Thursday night at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific for the live announcements show and follow The Disconnected on social media to stay updated. Subscribe to The Disconnected on YouTube or on the podcast provider of your choice and dive into a world where every movie night is an adventure.
Welcome to the Shabby Detective, yet another Columbo podcast. I'm your host, Mike White. Joining me, of course, is Mr. Chris Dashew.
To know him was to detest him.
On this episode, we are talking about Now You See Him. It was the 5th episode of the 5th season. Our old boy, Jack Cassidy, coming back to play a villain, his last time as a villain, unfortunately, because he can really play these characters very well. This one originally aired on leap year, February 29th, 1976. It's an 85-minute episode, so we complain sometimes when they're 70, we complain sometimes when they're 90, so here we are at 85, so no complaints this time, I imagine.
No, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and this might be the best episode of this season so far.
Yeah, it is pretty damn good, and it's so funny because I think I was making a lot of references to this back when we were talking about the 5th episode of the 4th season, Playback, the one with Oscar Werner as Harold von Vick, the tech guy. And I kept saying he should have been a former Nazi, because here we have a former Nazi, and that's a pretty good motivating factor. This whole thing of how the club that he works at, Jack Cassidy as the Great Santini, not a bad father figure like we would see in the movie The Great Santini. Here he's a magician, and his boss, I guess it is, the guy that owns the cabaret, Jesse Jerome, played by Nemanja Persoff, he knows exactly what Cassidy is, what Santini is, I should say, and is blackmailing him. And I guess that Santini isn't holding his weight, so he's going to turn him into the Israelis and have a good old time watching the Great Santini just taken off over to Israel and probably put to death or put into a cell for a very long time. This is 1976, folks. We are still talking about Nazi hunting a lot. back when it was okay to hunt Nazis.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. Huh?
What a time when people thought Nazis were bad.
It's strange to think about, isn't it? To go to the Nazi of it all right out of the gate, which is really how you want to handle Nazism. If you're going to handle it, is just punch it right in the fucking mouth, because that's exactly what those assholes deserve, is the fact that he's a fucking Nazi. And that is the motivating factor as to why he does everything that he does, but it is all wrapped up in this magician shell that I found so interesting, because I am so glad that it wasn't just the Nazi of it all. And that for me is why this is such a good episode, is because it is a multi-layered episode where there is no universe where Columbo goes into this thinking this guy's reasoning for killing his boss is because he's a Nazi. That is as surprising to Columbo as it is to us. Again, we find out pretty quickly that he's a Nazi. That's surprising. When Columbo finds out, he's just as surprised, because there's no universe where he could have thought that's what was going on here. He thinks that he's murdering his boss because his boss has the contract dispute didn't go the way he wanted, not because he's about to be outed as a Nazi. And I love that is where this episode goes. That is a hell of a twist, to your point. It reminds me of that Richard Kiley episode of Twilight Zone 1985, or I think it was that, or Night Gallery maybe, where it's like he's a Nazi on the run who gets trapped in a painting, like you said.
Night Gallery, yeah.
Yeah, the Nazi of it all is such a thing in the 80s, where it's like we're hunting these Nazis down that have gotten away with their war crimes forever. And I love that this is that, but it's also a magician thing, which is also starting to gain a lot of steam in the 80s and 90s, especially when you talk about Las Vegas and all of how Vegas and magicians starts becoming like intrinsically linked around this time. And I'm not saying they weren't before, but we have like magicians becoming a thing too. So I think it's interesting that this episode is working in multiple playgrounds at the same time.
Using magic is so great because it's the art of illusion. So it's the whole thing of trying to pull the wool over the audience's eyes. So what's Jack Cassidy doing? He's pulling the wool over their eyes, but he's also trying to do the exact same thing to Columbo. And this whole thing of you can't ask me certain things because these are the secrets of magic. So I can't really come out and tell you, you're going to have to figure it out on your own. So Columbo's basically trying to figure out the murder while he's also trying to figure out magic tricks. So him with the whole thing of the different rocks and things, or the different stuff in the office where it's guess a number, I knew you were going to say number 2 kind of thing. Like, that's pretty cool when Columbo's there. I especially like when Columbo goes to the magic shop, and I really like the guy that plays the magician who's teaching him those things. I thought he was really well played. Thayer David was the clerk at the magic shop, and I just thought he stole the whole scene that he was in with Peter Falk.
He's great. And it's one of those things where it could have totally been one of those scenes that we've talked about so many times with the show where it's like the Columbo of it all. It doesn't feel like that at all. He upstages Peter Falk in that scene. But Peter Falk is having such a good time. I don't think I've seen Peter Falk smile so many times in an episode as I have in this one. He's having a great time in this episode. From that scene to the scene with Jack Cassidy where he's brought on stage. Jack Cassidy calls him a beautiful boy, which is so fucking strange. I love Peter Falk is having the time of his life with this episode. And I feel like that goes back to the world of magic of it all, where there's like a level of whimsy and fantasy and suspension of disbelief.
No, I really think that's great. And the other reason I think that he's having such a great time in this is Bob Dishy is back.
What a redemption for his character and his portrayal of that character in the show, because that was not great in the last episode. Not because of him. It was a bad episode that he was in.
Greenhouse Jungle, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, here he's so great, and he's so obsequious and just always chasing down the wrong thing, to the point where Columbo, it's amazing he doesn't lose his cool, because it's just, hey, I am on this path over here. Bob Dishy, you are on this path way the fuck over here, and never the twain shall meet, because you are not following where I'm going at all. Finally, it feels towards the end, he's, oh, okay, now I get it. But there are so many times where he's just, Lieutenant, what about this and that and the other thing? And it's, no, you are chasing down all the stuff that Cassidy is setting up for you. You are following that directly. Columbo on a whole different thing, whole different level, literally different level as far as that playing field. But he's always Mr. 3D chess as opposed to what the hell Dishy's up to. Dishy just like, he's not a beat cop, but he might as well be with those detective skills he's got.
Yeah, Bob Dishy is woefully out of his depth, as they would say. But again, when you're partnered up with Columbo, what the fuck do you expect? Like, he's Columbo, for God's sakes. I don't know. This is one of those episodes of Columbo where he doesn't know it's Jack Cassidy out of the gate. And that's because he could never have anticipated that Jack Cassidy is a Nazi. Jack Cassidy is under suspicion. And there's that scene where Columbo is underground with him and he's like, you're down here and you could be down here, huh? And he's like, man, that clears up a lot. And it's like, okay, Columbo's got you now. But Columbo has to figure out, and it's not up until the last moment that Columbo figures out what, in fact, is going on.
Oh, yeah. And he goes back to the classic three, right? Motive, opportunity, and means, right? And it's just like he can't figure out the motive throughout the entire episode until he finally cracks open that Selectric typewriter and is able to read that letter. And then that amazing reveal when he pulls up the letter. He holds it up above his head, and then Jack Cassidy takes it and somehow turns it into flash paper and burns it up. And then Columbo pulls out another one. It's just like, how many copies you want? We got a lot of them.
Yeah, I love that magic is part of it every time. Like, I like that magic is part of the end of the episode. I like that we get this goofy shit with Columbo pulling that letter out, because it wouldn't work in any other episode, but it works here.
So I did read some behind the scenes about this one, and Cassidy was actually not their first choice. One of the reasons why they went with him is because his price was right. The original choice for this magician character was, of all people, Orson Welles. They wanted to get Orson Welles, who was a magician, in this role, and I think it would have been just incredible to have him. But I think Cassidy pulls it off wonderfully. Now, Cassidy didn't have enough time to learn actual prestidigitation, sleight of hand, any of that kind of stuff. So they used a hand double sometimes, or like a guy was trying to teach him some of these things. Didn't really pick up on it as much as he could have, but he's just so damn smarmy and great in this role. I thought that was great. I would have liked to have had Wells in there because it would have been a nice throwback to, which one was it? Was it Mr. Arkadin, where he plays a secret Nazi? So that would have been a nice little nod there. But yeah, Cassidy coming back and just killing it.
Well, and that's why they give Cassidy that facial hair. It was a little nod to the fact they couldn't get Orson Welles. I don't know. Jack Cassidy with a mustache is a weird look, but it works.
Yeah, I guess Wells wanted 20 grand for his role, and Cassidy was willing to take 12 or something. So
what, 8 grand to not have Orson Welles? Fuck you. Fuck you. Come on, man. It's like watching an episode of Pawn Stars. It's like $500 is going to separate you from having this thing in your store. Fuck off. Come on. I'm not saying Jack Cassidy is not a great actor. He is, especially in the context of Columbo. He has turned in 3 great performances. And especially that second one is in a, I would say, pretty subpar episode. I really don't like that second episode. And that's the one where he's the writer, and it's the thing with the bomb and the bomb maker. And I guess he's the writer the first time too, but that's the one where it's like he's the writer and he gets his friend and he murders his friend. And that's the one that's directed by Steven Spielberg. It's a much better episode put together, but it's, again, his performance in the second episode is what kind of redeems that second episode. This is a great episode with a great performance. But can you imagine Orson Welles? Man, what an episode that would have been. It would have been mentioned in other things. That's the thing. When you have someone like Orson Welles, who's such a talent, he's such an icon of pop culture. This Columbo would have more fans because of Orson Welles being part of it than by not having him. And that's a reality, because Orson Welles has been, again, talked about in a lot of deserved tones as a important figure in pop culture, both film, television, and just pop culture in general.
And he so could have used that money to put that right back in one of his productions.
That's the other thing, yeah. It's a shame, but again, Jack Cassidy is so good that at least they get Jack Cassidy, who is a fantastic actor, who turns in a fantastic performance. And he is great opposite Columbo, because he is very antagonistic towards Columbo at the end, but throughout most of it, they're just back and forth. He doesn't really, again, because what the motive is has to be hidden so much, he really has to treat Columbo, I would say nicely throughout the episode, because the motive is so out there that once Columbo figures it out, it recontextualizes Jack Cassidy's character completely.
I don't think this is too successful. And please tell me the whole thing about Cassidy's daughter and
What a waste of time.
singer. Yeah, the singer who we see twice very prominently performs before the great Santini comes out. And then we see him fairly early on. I'd say like during the pre-Columbo murder sequence. I think it's before Santini even goes on stage. You see that singer guy and Santini's daughter, and they're making out, and there's tension there. There's this big thing because that guy, that lounge singer, is Jewish. And that's why, even more than don't go after my daughter, it's don't go after my daughter, you Jew. And it's, boy, oh boy, I did not pick up on that at all in this. And it came out in the script, came out in some of those behind the scenes things they were talking about. And they're just like, yeah, it really wasn't very successful. I'm like, no, it wasn't at all. I didn't really remember that guy or Santini's daughter for the longest time. I'm like, oh yeah, she's just an assistant. I didn't really pick up that they were related.
And it doesn't contribute anything overall to the story because it's so underrepresented. On the last episode with A Matter of Honor, they also had a throwaway romance between one of the characters, like family members, and someone else. Doesn't go anywhere and feels like a vestigial storyline. Once again, same thing. If they had hammered home the Jewishness of it all, it would have worked. Columbo would have given pause for a second. But we don't get any of that. And again, it's not needed, is more the point, I think, in my mind. They get there without it, so excise it and save yourself a couple minutes. Save yourself some time. Save yourself some budget, because I don't think his daughter and that character needed to be in the episode at all. Genuinely, they add nothing to the episode. If they're not going to hammer home the Jewishness and the Jack Cassidy hating Jewish people because he's a fucking Nazi, there's no such thing as an ex-Nazi at this time in history. Now, people can change their minds, I would hope, and come to their goddamn senses. Right now, in 1976, there's no such thing as an ex-fucking Nazi. These are literally the people that were putting people to death in the camps. That's what Jack Cassidy's character is. He is a SS prison guard, not someone who thinks that Nazis have some interesting ideas, which is what amounts to Nazism now in our country. It's like dipshits who think that being a white person and white supremacy is okay. And there are people that aren't white that think that, which makes no fucking sense. Like Nazis, the actual Nazis that were putting people to death in the camps were not going to let people that did not look like them run around and do things. And that is the thing. Like in 76, this kind of Nazi is a detestable piece of shit because he's killing people. And the fact that they even have a Jewish character in this episode and do nothing with it is shocking to me.
Well, I figure his boss has to be Jewish too, right? The guy that played his boss is famous for playing Jewish people. Like you look at his filmography, you look at his IMDb picture, and it's, okay, Nehemiah Pearsoff played I don't know how many rabbis over the years. And I'm like, if anything, it feels like he's such a detestable guy in this. Maybe he is Jewish and he's just like, okay, having this fucking Nazi there under his thumb. I think he almost gets a little bit of a thrill out of it. And then when he's like, oh, hey, I can fuck this guy over too. This is going to be great. It's kind of strange. By the way, most people will probably know of this actor as playing Papa Moskowitz from the American Tail movies.
Yeah, I was going to say, we saw him in Barney Miller.
Oh, yeah, he's got one of those faces, man. He's really good. Robert Loggia seems wasted in this episode because he's fucking Robert Loggia.
He really does. I think that Loggia, similarly to the Jewish possible like love interest character, it's a direction that goes nowhere, and also it's Robert Loggia and he's not on screen a whole lot. That seems like a missed opportunity. It's not like Robert Loggia in 76 was an unknown quantity.
That's what I was wondering, if people knew who Robert Loggia was, like, because it feels like they should have, because he's just so good all the time. Of course, when he's giving traffic lessons in Lost Highway, that's definitely something. He was something at this point, right?
I had assumed so. It's weird to see very young Robert Loggia. I wonder, again, like with what we were talking about with the Jewish character, like, I wonder if there's more going on there, if there had been more, but it doesn't seem like we needed more there. So
No. Yeah, I'm going back and looking at his filmography. Scarface is still a few years away. Psycho 2 is still a few years away. But okay, yeah, he's playing in Fantasy Island, Charlie's Angels, Vegas. Oh, Ninth Configuration is just a few years away as well. But yeah, maybe he wasn't the Robert Loggia that we know at this time because he's just playing a lot of TV roles.
we just reverse hindsight Loggia. Like, oh, we know now that he's like that would explain why he's not really given a lot of time in the episode. But he makes an impact, which I think is the other thing for me. He's got a great look to him, and I like that him and Peter Falk get to share the screen together. Like, because this is peak Peter Falk. It might not be peak Robert Loggia. I know Robert Loggia from Independence Day. That's the thing that I know him from. That's the first thing I saw him in, and then he's done some random other strange things, like being in Tim and Eric's $1 billion movie, which was super strange. Playing, what's that? William Atherton? Is that the guy from Die Hard? And yeah, it's him and William Atherton played the villains in that movie opposite Tim and Eric. And like, Loggia's just hamming it up. And I love Robert Loggia, but yeah, he's not in this enough. But I think the problem is he's not in this enough is not that much of a complaint. You know what I mean? The episode is so good anyways that yes, I wish there had been more of him. And yes, this episode's 85 minutes long. So technically you could have given us 6 more minutes and still been within the boundaries of what this show does, at least within the, 91, 85, 70 is the 3 options, it would seem, for the length of the episodes. You could have given us a little bit more, and I don't think we would have complained, because I think that the world of magic is well represented. And the fact that it's not the motivating factor behind things, it's just part of it. It's the vehicle, less the engine, I think is so smart. Because in the last episode, we had that similar thing where it's the world of bullfighting, but the reason behind everything is less about bullfighting and more about someone's fragile ego. And I like that because we've had things in this show where it's like, nope, it's specifically this thing. It's like, I don't need it to be. Like, it doesn't specifically have to be this thing to work in the world of that thing.
Well, and here the murder is so well done and such an actual mystery as opposed to how easily Columbo finds that pick in the dirt. And, he's got Ricardo Montalban dead to rights very quickly. And it's still that same thing of, oh no, you shouldn't question this guy because he's like this very revered person. Whereas with this one, it's like, this is one of the few ones where the villain isn't very well to do. Like, I don't see the great Santini making bank. He's working at this shitty magic club kind of thing and doing okay. He's a headliner and everything. But at the same time, he's not making bank off of this stuff. He's just making a living. And sounds like nobody likes the boss, the one guy who's just, hey, can you make this guy disappear? I'm like, okay, so he's not very well loved. People are not sad when the boss dies, pretty much. No one's just, oh, he was such a great humanitarian or something. No, there's really nothing to that. And then, yeah, to have Santini wits with Columbo, you feel like he's a smart guy, and he's been one step ahead of all of these different people all these years, because so much of Columbo's investigation is about what Santini was like when he was going by this name, that name. He runs across the one guy who's, oh yeah, he used to have this German accent. And then when Columbo calls him on, he's just, oh, did he speak like this? And he starts doing all these accents. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's a nice way to throw him off the trail there.
The why of it all becomes so part and parcel to everything, and it goes in an interesting direction. Because, yeah, Columbo is along for the ride and being surprised that this guy is like a former Nazi who's like German. Like, he doesn't present it. He does a very good job of covering it up throughout the entire episode, which, to Jack Cassidy's credit, he does not let that performance slip at all.
No.
Which I really appreciate.
Yeah, I really like it too. And I like some of the stupid stuff in this episode, and stupid is very much in quotes because I think the whole thing with the raincoat gag is fantastic. Just Columbo trying to lose that new coat as much as he possibly can. And then the whole thing too about his shoes and all that stuff. We know what a problem he has with shoes. And then like him, like, I got to take this coat off. I can't even think in this thing. I'm just like, oh, that's so nice. I really bet his wife has put this new coat on him and he just can't even handle it. You're talking last episode about how you're very much in that I believe Mrs. Columbo exists thing. I think so too with an episode like this, because Columbo's not going to buy that coat for himself.
I wouldn't think so. But he looks rather well dressed in this episode otherwise. He doesn't look as shabby as normal.
No,
Less
maybe just the
shabby in
hair.
this episode. Yeah, the hair. It's always with the hair. He does look a little unkempt above the eyebrows.
Yeah, I saw this meme the other day. It was very young Columbo versus a little bit older Columbo. And it said how you look after a exploding cigar goes off in your mouth.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah, okay, I can see that. Yeah, I can see that the big hair. So I also saw a great clip yesterday because it was Easter. We're recording this the day. It's probably got some sort of weird name to it, right? All of these. This is Easter Monday. Yeah, because I was thinking of like Maundy Thursday or Holy Saturday. And there was a Easter Seals telethon, and there was a segment that Peter Falk was hosting, and just everybody in that stage was having a great time. I'm like, what time of the day or night was this when these people are just having such a blast dancing on stage for this Easter Seals telethon? And just Peter Falk was just loving life at that moment, and it made me so happy to see it.
I love Peter Falk's energy in this episode. He's having such a good time. He really is. I really like him in this episode. He's having a great time. And I wanted to mention this because we haven't talked about it. We've talked about the Nazis of it all. We've talked about the magic of it all. But can we talk about the technology of it all? Because that's the thing that ultimately we come back to with this episode, is the juxtaposition of technology versus the magic. Because you have that scene where he's in the magician's store and they're talking. Do you have something that will allow me to throw my voice from one room to the other? I'm like, oh my God. This is 1976. Like, they could not fathom what we have now at all. And it's like, at the end of the episode, it's like, I heard you were in one room and it's in the other. And it's, my God, you were using radio transmitters. Like, oh, and it's the typewriter's ribbon has the things in it. Like, technology is wild and it's undercutting the magic of magic. And I like that about this episode. The episode is very subtle about it. It doesn't bash you over the head with it. But we have talked so much about Columbo technology and Columbo being part and parcel. And man, this episode has him catching somebody because of a typewriter and a radio transmitter. What more is technologically advanced in 1976 than those two things? I'll wait nothing. Like, really, 76, a typewriter, a Selectric typewriter, which is a electric typewriter, and a radio transmitter that is about lapel-sized. Those are pretty technologically advanced things for people to be seeing in 1976. I do feel like.
Yeah, because we forget that before those Selectric typewriters with the ribbon cartridge, you would just have a regular ribbon with the ink soaked into it. So you really couldn't see what you had typed before when you're doing that. I'm typing, by the way. This is my hand motion for typing. Air typing. And yeah, now you have a record of everything that was written on that particular typewriter, which is such a Columbo twist. It's just, okay, I've exhausted all these other things. And then I love Dishy with just how happy he is to talk about that. The way he's like caressing the top of the typewriter. He's just like, this baby could get up to about 220 words a minute. I'm like, wow, yeah, you really know your stuff here, Lieutenant or Captain.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and then the other thing I like a lot too is the scene with the handcuffs where Columbo has to prove that Cassidy can get out of these particular handcuffs, and they use the exact same key that was being used before. And just that look on Columbo's face as he's watching Cassidy get that lock apart. Oh, you got him. He doesn't know that you got him, but you got him. That little, I knew you could do it, sir. I'm like, oh, so good.
But you got him. Yeah. I know. That is the thing about this episode that is so fun, is that because it is the magic of it all, we get to watch Jack Cassidy externalize things that we haven't seen people do before, where it's like, you got him, Columbo. In this moment, he signs his own warrant. This is not one of these, circumstantial evidence. Nah, even if he had not admitted to it, it's like, they got him. They've got him. And I do love that the entryway for Columbo is for him to go, my boss isn't going to believe that you were locked in that box for 10 minutes. And that's, you know what? If you can't prove where you were, all right, then you're a fucking suspect. And I love that. I love that. It's almost like a locked room, this episode. There is a little locked room to this, like a little Agatha Christie of it all, really. Even the third act twist for Columbo to be like, he's a Nazi. Like, the audience knows because of the way they tell the story. There's a version of this where we find out with Columbo that he's a Nazi, and we're floored. A Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, there's a Nazi twist subplot in that, and it's like, came out of nowhere. What the hell? And here it's the same thing. But again, we know because we see in scene 1 that he's a Nazi when he's talking to Nehemiah Pearsall.
To the busy kitchen. And just that Cassidy can get himself lost in this kitchen because it is just such a center of chaos. I love that no one sees who comes in or out. Nobody could say who was here or who was there because it's just fucking crazy. And
It's hectic,
this is
yeah.
the perfect alibi of having this kitchen between the two spaces and just, okay, yeah, this guy's going to pass through here. He's going to wear a false wig and put on a waiter's coat. Nobody's going to see him. Nobody will notice this guy. They barely notice that Columbo's there. And this little guy wearing a trench coat.
I love how understated Jack Cassidy's disguise is. It's just, yeah, again, like to your point, like because it's so hectic, you can do anything. Robert Loggia's like, my mother could come in here and kiss me and I wouldn't remember. And it's like, oh yeah, I believe that. Like, this place is pretty popular. I guess this is modeled after the Magic Castle in Los Angeles. I'm assuming that's what this is supposed to be. Strikes me as that. Yeah, I love the world of magic. There are some standout, and again, like, not stand out, but they stand out to me as good examples of using magic and stuff. There's a Tales from the Crypt episode where they use magic. I think we have talked about or will be talking about Tales from the Dark Side episode with magicians. The world of magic and magicians is such a interesting world for ripe investigation and to do fun things with. And I'm glad that we get a episode in the world of magic because just, I love that even at the end, like a perfect murder is only an illusion. Man, we even get at the end, he's doing the magic thing. Yes. Thank you, episode. Like the fact that, again, it goes back to this idea of the best kind of themed restaurants are the ones that have the menu items are themed, the drinks are themed, the bathrooms are themed. It's like you have to, if you're going to go into this world, do it right. Have things, have a magic show and have them go to the magic shop and have him go to the underneath where the magician is and into his kind of lair and you can see the tricks and have Columbo learn how to do a trick. And one of the reasons Jack Cassidy gets caught is because he's undoing a lock, which is such a magician thing to do. And then at the end of the day, we have all that as the pretense. And then it's, he's a Nazi. And the guy found out he was a Nazi and was going to out him as a Nazi. And that's ultimately what gets him caught. It has nothing to do with magic. Magic is just what seems to be the alibi here is I was locked in a box underwater. But I have to out myself as not having actually been in that box. And therefore, there goes my alibi immediately. Just because Columbo goes, my boss isn't going to believe you were in that box for 10 minutes.
And it's the old boss excuse. Oh, yeah, my sergeant, he's always on me. Oh, my captain. It's like, he's always got somebody who's just busting his balls about this stuff that he can make it up on the spot.
And isn't it interesting how Columbo uses his boss versus the way Pedro Armendariz Jr. used his boss as an excuse last episode? Because it's so different. That's why Pedro Armendariz was like dragging his feet to do things. Was he was worried his boss was going to rake him over the coals. And here, Columbo's boss is being used, rightfully so, by Columbo as justification because Columbo's boss knows that Columbo is legit and gets results and gets the job done. That's the one thing we haven't seen yet. Who are Columbo's superiors? And what do they think of the job that he does? Because they've got to just be like over the moon that Columbo keeps catching all these people in these cases that are seemingly impossible, that no other cop would be able to. Again, we're to the point now with this kind of media where we don't even have cops doing this anymore. Natasha Lyonne is not a cop in Poker Face. She's just a normal person. Because at this point, if they were a police officer, their boss would be like, we're just going to send you around the country to do this for everybody. And that's why you have to suspend disbelief with Columbo. But the show, I'm assuming we never see his boss. Or if we do, they make it really no point to have it be like, you know how many people you've caught, Columbo, that would not be caught otherwise? Because that's the thing about Sherlock Holmes. Scotland Yard makes note of the fact that they're like, Sherlock Holmes is a genius. We need to bring him in on this. Columbo is a genius. That his bosses are like, just send Columbo in. He'll figure it out.
Yeah, we get to see a little bit of that stuff with was it A Friend Indeed, the other cop, and then also with a case of immunity, but that was another department, I think, when he came in there and that one cop's just, what the hell are you doing here, Columbo?
Because Bob Dishy technically is that, but I want to see someone who's his superior, not someone who is effectively, and again, Bob Dishy is painted as such a ding-dong in this episode. Bob Dishy is Columbo's subordinate, like 100% his subordinate. And I want to know what Columbo's boss think of what he does, because he is the smartest guy in the room at all times, unless you're a Nazi, and then I got to get over that hump. Otherwise, Columbo is always the smartest guy in the room, always the one in the know, and you don't want to be in Columbo's crosshairs, because if you're in his crosshairs, it's already over for you, literally. Like, we've had this conversation so many times in this show, about the show on these episodes we talk about, where there's a moment where Columbo's got him, and it's not at the end of the episode most of the times. Most of the times it's 5 minutes in, 6 minutes into him being on screen, like, he got him. We just got to figure out how he's going to catch him, but he knows maybe these people shouldn't murder people so close to them.
If he found a stranger that could kill somebody close to him, and then he would kill somebody close to the stranger, it'd be the perfect murder. Chris,
what was it? Where hired in Jack Cassidy's last episode, hire somebody who makes pipe bombs to blow them up, and then kill him and make it look like an accident. So this was a great example of Columbo operating at peak Columbo. From the way it resolves to the villain having a great repertoire back and forth with a repartee, I guess, with Columbo, and even having the wrinkle of Bob Dishy and the wrinkle of the Nazi of it all. Like, those are fun little wrinkles that make this episode stand out this season. And again, I'm not saying that there have been bad episodes this season. Frankly, I think this season, for the most part, has been pretty good. But this, I think, for me, is like a standout episode this season. Because I think for me, it's this episode and the last episode are the two really like good episodes this season. There have been great episodes. There have been some good episodes. Case of Immunity, Forgotten Lady are good, but these last two have been great. Really great.
Chris, get ready for utter disappointment as we go into the last episode of this season. Last Salute to the Commodore, directed by our old friend Patrick McGowan, who doesn't show up in this. We do get Fred Draper, who we just saw as a blind man, or the blind man's brother, in the previous episode. Also worked in that cosmetics company when Martin Sheen was getting killed, and I think he showed up at least one other time. Then, of course, he was in Woman Under the Influence and some other Cassavetes movies. We're also going to get Robert Vaughn coming back, the shipboard killer, but we'll be back, but this time as a victim. And yeah, this might be one of the worst Columbo episodes, but I'm going to walk into it with an open mind and try to make sense of this thing. I'm going to read as much as I possibly can about this episode, see what happens, see why this is what I consider, and I think a lot of Columbo fans consider, one of the worst ones. Let's hope that you find something enjoyable from this one. If nothing else, at least Dennis Dugan is in this next one.
Thank you. You beat me to it, you motherfucker. Adam Sandler's best friend, Dennis Dugan, is in the episode, everybody. Oh boy, Dennis Dugan.
Dennis Dugan, who had I think it was just I don't know if it was a full-fledged show, but it was an offshoot of the Rockford Files for a little while, where he played a detective on that. And then I think he comes back in possibly Mrs. Columbo. Probably not as this same one.
Richie Brockelman, Private Eye. Good God. And it was a Rockford Files spinoff. What? And you know what? You know how I know that show was not a success? By the fucking title.
Richie Brockelman, Private Eye.
Was he 5 years old? Is it like a Zach Galifianakis in Hangover? Like he's carried on somebody's chest? He's like a baby detective? And that's what it sounds like. Richie Brockelman, Private Eye. What are you, fucking 10 years old?
He definitely has some trouble parallel parking, or at least doing a backup job. That's the only thing I really remember from that, as well as Diane Baker just looking amazing in this episode. She's the one who is Catherine Martin's mother in Silence of the Lambs.
Okay. Love you, suit. I'm excited. I know that we've been barreling towards this episode, so I'm excited to watch it. But yeah, man, here we go. Ending season 5 of Columbo coming soon. We're halfway through the run of this show.
Then we're going to have to watch some stuff that Falk was up to, and maybe even get some more Lincoln Levinson in our lives as well. So I'll take a look at what was going on in 1976 and where we can go from there. But yeah, one more episode for season 6. We'll be back next month to talk about Last Salute to the Commodore. In the meantime, Chris, what are you working on these days?
Just working on podcasts over at weirdingwaymedia.com. Head on over there to find everything I work on other than Rankin' on Bond, which is our Patreon exclusive show, which can be found over at my Patreon, patreon.com/culturecast or patreon.com/projectionbooth. What about you, Mike White?
Yeah, pretty much the same thing all the way down the line. So all those good things that we do are available at weirdingwaymedia.com, except for that one show that is available on our Patreons. Hopefully you're listening to this on one of our Patreons. That would be a nice thing. But otherwise, yeah, just go on over to, I believe it's shabbydetective.com. You can get more of this show, or weirdingwaymedia.com. You can get all of the shows. I want to thank John Walker for our opening theme and Colin Gallagher for our closing theme. And I want to thank you, the listener, for listening to this show and hear us talk about Columbo every month. Don't care if anybody's really listening, because I'm going to have a hell of a time talking about one of my most favorite TV shows in the world with one of my best friends. So I'm really glad to be here with you, Chris, and I look forward to next month, even if it's going to be a bummer of an episode.
And you know what? I forgot to mention, my girlfriend has really taken a liking to Columbo. I really enjoy watching Columbo with you. And I'm like, wow. So there you go, Mike White. Columbo spanning the generations.
I love it.
She's a little younger than both of us. The audience for Columbo is still there for the cozy murder mystery. I think it's still there. And I'm so glad that we were watching the show together, because I feel like this is one of your shows that you had always talked about pre us doing it. This is a great show. That's the other thing that helps. This is one of those shows where I've never seen any of it. So getting to watch it with you and enjoy it in real time and not rush ahead and savor it. There's not a whole lot of shows like this where I don't rush ahead and I don't spoil it for myself. So it says a lot about Columbo as a show, I feel like.
Hello, filthy movie lovers. My name is Gentry Austin.
And I'm Casey Scott.
And we're the hosts of the Sin Syndicate, film podcast for something weirdos, anti-criterion bros, and Joseph Sarno aficionados. Join us semi-weekly as we peer into the adults-only theaters and sticky-floored cinemas of the golden age of sexploitation, when the morals were loose, the laws were murky, and the intercourse was all simulated. Find us now on the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.
Hello, my name is Kevin Tudor, and I'm one of the 3 hosts of Almost Major, a film podcast dissecting many major indie studios and the films they release. Every week, myself, Charlie Nash, and Bryden Doyle discuss overlooked, forgotten, or bona fide classic indie films via studio-specific miniseries. We've previously covered numerous films from Artisan Entertainment, Lionsgate Films, and New Line Cinema. Titles including The Blair Witch Project, American Psycho, Dogville, But I'm a Cheerleader, Saw, Requiem for a Dream, and Ringmaster, you know, the Jerry Springer film. Anyways, we have a fun time every week, and we hope you will join us. Subscribe to Almost Major wherever you get your podcasts. Now proudly a part of the Someone's Favorite Productions podcast network.